Hey everyone, it's Cam from SentryBoxCards.com. Today we're going to be doing a build of a sealed pool. I've got a pre-release pack from Ikoria, and I'm going to go through and do a little bit of a tutorial. If maybe you've never built a sealed pool before, maybe you've never been to a pre-release. I know there's a lot of people out there who this would have been their first pre-release, Ikoria, and it was unfortunately the only one that's been sort of ruined for in-paper, in-person pre-releases. But I wanted to still open it up and we can talk about some of the cards that are in the set. We can talk about some tips for building your sealed pool and some tips and tricks for your first pre-release, which is probably going to be maybe the next one, maybe the one after that. But let's open this thing up and see what's inside here. Slide off the sleeve, get our garbage out of the way. So the first thing that's in every pre-release kit is a D20 with the set symbol on it. We're going to set that over to the side. You'll also get one foil promo, which is going to be a rare or mythic rare from the set, and it's got the date stamp on it for the pre-release. And these ones are funny because they still say April 18th and 19th, 2020, even though that was in fact not the case for North America. We've got a little rules insert. We have a code for Magic Arena, a divider, and in this set we have counters for the different ability words that can be granted to creatures. Set that over to the side, and we've also got 6 packs. So sealed is a limited format. That's the idea is that you build a deck out of 6 packs of Magic the Gathering cards, and you're going to want to construct a 40 card deck out of these 6 packs, which is a little bit different than the other limited format, which is draft. And in draft, you have each player has 3 packs of cards, and you alternate picking cards, passing them around the table. We'll do a video on draft another time, and we'll talk about some tips and tricks for that as well. So when I'm building a sealed pool, I like to open everything first, and then I sort it. So I'm just going to quickly open all the packs, get my stack of cards here. And then I will sort them by color. So, I'm going to open my pre-release rare as well. You can play with this card in your pool as well, to the foil rare that you get. So, I'm going to sort everything by color. This could be weird to do upside down.
A few moments later.
Okay, so after I've gotten everything sorted into the colors, the next thing that I do is I go through and I make 2 piles, one above the other for each color, and I'm taking out the cards that excite me or make me want to play that color. These are the most powerful things. These are really good removal spells. These are interesting synergistic cards that I want to be aware of. And white does not impress me thus far. There's a couple cards in there. I really like the Swallow Hole and the Flourishing Fox. Those are both good cards, but it doesn't look at this point, unless we have some really cool multicolored white cards that we're looking to splash, that I'm not exactly sure we're going to be in the market for that. Avian Oddity is a really cool card that I would really look to play. It's something that excites me, makes me want to go into blue. I tend to, on this first pass here, only take the cards that I am actually would put in the camp of good or like really exciting stuff, because I want to maximize the power level of my deck. And then the second pile, so a card like Polywog Symbiote is a card that I like, is a decent card. It's something that you can put in decks and it does things, but it's not one of the really high power level cards that I'm gonna just try to build my deck around. It's a good card if things come together that way. So I tend to try and keep it to just the really big hits on this first pass, just to give me an idea. So something weird happened here where we've ended up with 3 Dirge Bat for some reason. We've got the full we've got a bunch of different versions. We've got our pre-release promo, we've got a normal rare, and then we've got the showcase art Dirge Bat. And I'm pretty excited about a 3/3 flyer for 4 to begin with Flash. And it also has the ability for 4 black mutate. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And this is something that is, at this point, looking like something that I want to make the backbone of my strategy, because I really like this card. And it's tough to play around a rare with Flash, and it's really tough to play around 3 of them. So I'm excited about the prospect of that. I also really like Grim Dancer. There's a few other things in the black here, things like Mutual Destruction, Unbreakable Bond, maybe Call of the Death Dweller gets there. Lurking Deadeye is a card to be aware of. Dark Bargain, Insatiable Hemophage, and things like Boot Nipper are really good to mutate onto, because that's a creature with Death Touch. I'm going to put these at the top of the not as exciting pile for now. So one of the differences between sealed and draft is that in sealed you tend to have a little bit more time to execute a game plan. Aggro decks tend to not be as prevalent in sealed, because when you're drafting an aggro deck, there's a lot of cards that aren't great in other people's decks, so you tend to get a lot of them. And aggro decks thrive on consistency and redundancy. So you want your deck to be really redundant. You'll end up playing a lot more lower drop creatures, lots of 2-drops and things, more pump spells than you would normally be interested in, and it's tough to get a higher density of those things in sealed. So as a result, the format slows down by several turns, and you'll find that you have a little bit more time to operate. And the other thing is that most people are trying to play as many of their bombs as possible. So removal spells become really important in this one. Sometimes your mana base tends to stretch a little bit more, because you're like, well, I'm 2, maybe 3 colors, and like if I can find a way to make this last one work, then I get to play this insane bomb rare that I've also got. So it's a more bomb-heavy format. It's a little bit slower, and it tends to give you a little bit more time to operate. So some random 2-drop that doesn't have much of an impact or doesn't have extra abilities beyond the first couple turns that it's played, those tend to go down a bit in value, and the big splashy plays tend to go up in value quite a bit more as a result. We haven't found anything really insane in the red or green cards, but we've got some good role players in there. Moving on to the multicolor cards, I'm really excited that we got this guy, the Fiend Artisan. Lurus of the Dream Den is another really powerful card that we'll see if we can find some good ways to leverage that. I'm not sure that we're going to get there on making that our companion, especially because we just don't have a ton of really high value 1 and 2-drop permanents. We also have another companion. We have Gyruda, Doom of Depths. I have not played a ton I've not played a ton of sealed for this set altogether, so I imagine it'll be a little bit more difficult to execute on building a deck around a companion, as opposed to in a draft where if you take one early, you can really bias your picks towards making it work. I also have a Trumpeting Gnar that I really like. I can't imagine we're in red-white, but I really like Zenith Flare. I like Back for More. I like General Kudro of Dranith, and Lordrakis is a good card that could get there. I don't imagine we're going to be in for the Regal Leosaur, so we'll leave that over there. In my colorless cards, we have 2 Farfinder, which is a card that I'm very excited to have. I have to imagine I'm going to be playing both of these because it's we've got some good lands in here, and it looks like we've got good colors for the colors that we probably want to be playing. And so I'm excited by that, and I'm also excited to have some Farfinders because I think I want to get maybe a little ridiculous with what we're going to be doing here. So let's take the piles that I'm excited about, and we'll start seeing if we can get anything going. So we'll build around black first of all, and then we'll see what pairs well with that. So I'll put my black cards and my blue cards over here. I'm going to leave white and red off the table for now. And we'll see if we can build some sort of Sultai mess. My inclination is that I want to set Gyruda to the side and see if I can make that happen first. Gyruda's companion stipulation is that your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana costs, and its ability says it's a 4 Dimir hybrid, so a 6 mana creature that's a 6/6 Demon Kraken. When it enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, and you put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So, looking at the Dirge Bats looks real slick here beside our Gyruda. I'm going to put that up here, move this over here. Kind of cuts off the Farfinder, so we may end up just putting it in our deck, but do not underestimate the power of the companion ability. Having the ability to just start with 8 cards in your hand is really powerful. And all of the companions have really good abilities as well. So you get paid off a lot for if you can put in the work to find a place for one of those in your deck. Alright. So we have, if we want the Avian Oddity, which I think we do, at present, we have a lot of 4-drops. So we can slot the Boot Nympher in there. That makes Dark Bargain pretty easy. The Insatiable Hemophage gets in this world. Polywog Symbiote seems excellent with our Dirge Bats. And this is what's really one of the fun things about one of the fun things, which is not always, I would say that everybody's always having fun with the companions, because that is not the case. They're pretty divisive. Our Fiend Artisan gets in there really easily. But what's interesting about it, and what I like about it, is that it changes your deck building decisions. Like, all of a sudden, I have a really a high priority on different things, and if this were a draft, you might pass me a card and go, oh well, he's obviously going to take this, it's the best card in the pack, and I might just want something else. I may just want I don't have any in my pool here, but a card that if I was in this situation I'd be really interested in it is Humble Naturalist, which is a 2-mana creature that taps to add 1 mana of any color to play a creature spell. That the possibility of having my companion on turn 5 as opposed to turn 6 is really appealing in that scenario. So that card goes up a lot in value, as well as with my Dirge Bats, the things that go up in value for me are the Essence Symbiote and the Polywog Symbiote, both cards that work well with Mutate. So looking at how I've laid everything out here right now, and having gone through all my cards, I quite simply am just not going to have enough to make the companion work in this instance. So I'm going to ditch that. Like, I'm just not going to have enough playables. So, and go back to plan A, and we're just going to build what looks to be a pretty solid three-color Sultai deck. So let's keep these for now. Got our 2-drops over here. Oh, now what I'm really interested in is, where's my green? This set secretly has like a bit of a really cool graveyard sub-theme to it. So I'm interested in at this point in cards like the Excavation Mole, which when it enters the battlefield puts the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. That sounds like something that I am interested in, because I have cards like the Fiend Artisan, and I also have the Gyruda to put more cards in my graveyard. I have a Back for More, which is maybe makes the cut. I'm not sure if I have enough really big boys that I want to put in, but it makes the Mythos of Brokos pretty interesting as well. I think I'm going to try and get in the Ketria Crystal, because that taps for 2 of my colors. Farfinder. Farfinder's a really cool card. It is like the Surveyor, Spyglass Surveyor. Every new set that comes out, I entirely wipe all of the names of every card from my memory, and I've forgotten. What's the source? Not Sorcerer's Spyglass, from Dominaria. What the heck is its name? It's a 3-mana 1/2 that searches for a land when it comes into play, and that was like one of the best, if not the best, common in that set. And Farfinder seems to be really similar in this set, and they made sure to make it not a human, so it's an excellent target for mutate. Not sure if I'll have enough creatures to want mutual destruction. What else we got here? Anything we... Oh yeah, now the Trumpeting Gnar gets in for sure. And then they just, as a little added bonus, they just decided, why not? We'll put Vigilance on the Farfinder, just so it has a cool ability for when you mutate onto it. Not sure that I'm in for any of those multicolored cards, the Lord Drakis, the General Kudro, or the Zenith Flare at this point. Could probably get involved with a Dreamtail Heron. That sounds pretty good. Where are we at here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20, 21. So, if you've never played Limited before, what you're aiming for is, traditionally you want 23 spells and 17 lands. That helps to maintain the balance between lands and spells, and unless you have something really unusual going on, you're going to want to stick to that. Learn the rules before you break them, and I think you will do just fine with a 17-23 split to begin with. Maybe we'll talk we'll talk more in another video about building a mana base in Limited, and the specific things that you want to watch out for, be aware of, because it's a really interesting thing, and the math on it and the things to consider are really interesting as well. I'm very happy that I have an Evolving Wilds, 2 Jungle Hollows, and a Dismal Backwater in my 3-color deck, and 2 Farfinders. I might not even need this crystal, but it's got cycling on it, and I'm not in a hurry to cut it. I think my mana is very good in this deck. So if I counted that I needed 1 or 2 more cards. I like how we've got 2 companions in our deck, and neither of them are actually our companion, but I think both of them are just good. Yeah, so we've got the Luris, which brings back only 4 creatures, but it's still really tough to cut an on-color 3-mana 3/2 with lifelink that sometimes just gets us some value. Do we have any more ways to put cards in our graveyard? We have a Call of the Death Dweller that I'm not over the moon about right now because we don't have a ton of amazing stuff to get back with that. Kind of have my eye on the Lurking Deadeye because we don't have I guess our only removal, unless I'm missing something, is just the Dirge Bats. We have... I'm pretty satisfied with the amount of things that we have to mutate onto. Let me turn this all around here real quick. It was just for my benefit initially, but I think I've figured things out enough that I can turn it all around. So the reason I don't want that I'm more excited about non-human creatures is because you cannot mutate onto human creatures. So it's interesting. Like the white and the black archetypes in this set tend to have more humans. They're also the colors with the human synergies as well, so it's something to pay attention to, and it's interesting. It changes the value of a lot of especially the white mutate creatures, because there's not as many things in white to mutate onto, because a lot of the overwhelming majority of them are humans, and some of them are cats. So which count, but there's not as many of them, and not a ton of them are great. Let's see here. Time to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I still want one more card. Go back and investigate this in case I missed something. No. Okay. I think I know what I want. So my choices here, what I'm considering are, I would consider the Thieving Otter. That is a card that is good to mutate onto. I'm excited with almost every mutate creature I have. If I can give this card flying or some other ability, like the Dirge Bats and the Dreamtail Heron are all really excellent cards to mutate onto this, because we draw a card every time we deal combat damage to a player. Or rather, any damage to an opponent. So this is also a cool one to, if you had the Porcuparrot, which I don't think we have a Porcuparrot in here, though it would be good for illustrative purposes. Just a thing to think about is whenever a card says, I know we're getting a little into the weeds here, whenever a card says, whenever it deals damage, it's important to know what's dealing the damage and what the clause on it is. So if you had a Porcuparrot which can tap to deal damage to something, you could suit it up with this and just, does the Porcuparrot deal damage to players or just creatures? If the Porcuparrot just deals damage to creatures, then cut this part out of the video and we'll move on with our lives. It's any target. Excellent. All right, it's any target. We'll continue. tip, we're out of the we got that out of the way. We're moving on. I also like Frostveil Ambush. It's important to be aware of all of the cards that have cycling 1 in this set, because the cost of inclusion is really low, and a lot of them have really cool effects in very narrow situations. Frostveil Ambush is a card that you're either cycling to get it out of your hand and find more lands or find some action, or it's winning you the game. So it's a narrow card. In that sense, I don't like it if I'm trying to stay alive for an extra turn. I'd rather draw the extra card. But it's a good card to close out a game. So I think I'm going to play this. Now, why I've separated out my creatures and my non-land cards is, number one, for this deck, we have a lot of cards that care about how many creatures we have, and not so many cards that care about how many spells we have. But it's important to be aware of that, because a lot of times that's going to matter for your deck. For instance, we need lots of mutate targets, so we don't want to be a 9-10 creature deck. We want to be way more than that. If we were, for example, trying to be a blue-red spells deck, we'd be pretty uncomfortable having only 5 spells in our deck, obviously. It also, the things that we care about right now are the Fiend Artisan wants more creatures in our deck, and our Guide Ruta wants more creatures in our deck. We get more value out of our back for more. Tons of stuff that we just get a lot more value out of. So I'm really happy with the ratio that we've assembled here. And I separate the two because it helps me look at my curve a lot better. I don't care as much, like sometimes you'll put a bunch of spells in the other slots, and it depends on the spells, but I don't care a ton about whether I have a 2-mana spell to play on 2. I care a lot more that I have a 2-mana creature or a 3-mana creature to play on 3. And so that's why I separate out the two, so it gives me a better idea of the entirety of my deck. And so I think I'm happy with what we've got here. And now I just need to ponder for a sec and see how many basic lands I need and what distributions of those.
One eternity later.
So, I will, if I'm the quick and dirty way to do it is I will lay out and see what my mana requirements are and on what turns I need them. So like, if I don't have any black cards until like 4 on the curve, that sort of tells me that I maybe need a few less of those sources because I can wait a few turns for it. But I also have pretty heavy requirements. Like a lot of them are double black, so that's another thing to take into account. I touch green pretty lightly, so I'm only running 3 basics of green, and I think that it could be correct to run less than that, because we have a ton of ways to find it, and only 1 spell that requires double green. I don't expect I'm going to get punished a ton for that. And that brings us up to 1, 2, 3, 6 green sources, which I'm pretty happy with. Not counting the Farfinder or the Ketria Crystal. And yeah, I'm happy with everything we've got here, and we'll sleeve up, and we're going to, and then Liam and I will play a game with each of our sealed pools. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you in a minute.